this is what showing up imperfect looks like. I preach all the time about just be visible with your message. The world needs to hear from you in your business. It doesn't matter if your makeup and your hair's done and you've had a bad day and just do it. I'm showing up as a role model like that today. Look at me, like I look wild. I don't even what's this? I don't even know what's happening. No makeup, hair estate, just keeping it real. Who's with me tonight? It's been mental. The reason I look like this, I've had the most surreal and intense few days. It's just been bonkers. So I had confirmation on Friday that I'd secured a deal with a contact of mine to recommend people, put people forward to be featured on a major TV channel. And I can't give all the details away yet, but it's huge. It's huge. It's an opportunity for business owners to get their message heard, have more exposure, more impact, be on TV. And TV is fucking hard to get on. It's really hard to get on. So you can try and you know, emails go unanswered, doors never open. So to be able to give this opportunity to people is just, oh, you're so kind. Hey Vicky, hey Nicola, how you doing? Who else is there? Say hey so I know who's listening. Yeah, to be able to be given this opportunity and trusted with the opportunity of training people to get ready for their appearance so that they know how to maximize on it, what to say, how to structure their interview, etc., so they can use it for marketing their business, and then being able to train people after they've done their TV interview to maximize on it and build it into their marketing strategy to have more clients, greater impact. To be trusted with that opportunity is huge for me. And it means that I can, hey Sue, how you doing? Hey Becky, Heidi, Joanne, Carol, Carolyn. I can now put my clients forward for that. And the reason I say my clients is because I know them. Oh my God, look at this. I know them, I know their business, I know their mission, the purpose behind it. I want to see them on a larger stage because I know the world needs to hear from them. So being able to give that to them is huge for me, huge for them, huge for the world. So it's just been a crazy few days and I'm still high, literally can't come down off the ceiling. So give me a live if you're live, #live. Comment #replay if you're watching on replay, because it's really handy to know who's catching me live, who's catching me on replay. And I want to talk about something today that I get asked all the time. It comes up an awful lot with people I work with and people that I don't, that just reach out and say, this is where I'm at. And that is how to feel abundant when really in reality right now you're broke and there's no money in the bank, or there's not enough money in the bank. Because if you're a woman in business that has been around the world of personal self-development for a period of time, you will already probably be exposed to the law of attraction. The Secret probably was your first introduction. That's most people's. Comment in the chat box. What was your first introduction to the law of attraction? Let's just see. It'd be really interesting to see. How did you find the law of attraction? And I don't mean like somebody recommended. What was your first introduction? Was it The Secret, the book? Was it the film? For me, it was The Secret. And once you're surrounded by this new philosophy concept, once your eyes have been opened, you know you need to feel a certain way to attract something, right? We need to feel wealthy before we see wealth show up. And that's exciting at first because you're like, okay, everything's up to me then. Yeah, the secret. A lot of you are the same. The Secret. Okay, I think amazing. Yeah, because it's quite commercialized. So, and then for most people, what happens after is then there's this kind of anxiety appears where you're like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking like that. I shouldn't feel like that. Oh God, because I'm focusing not having enough money, more debt's going to show up. Oh shit, stop thinking about debt. Who can relate? Give me some hearts if you know what we're talking about. I think we've probably all been there, haven't we? This isn't a training tonight on how you can manifest more money, because as much as I am a huge believer and example of manifestation and getting our thoughts in check, it's not just about thinking ourselves rich. We've got to take action too. Thinking about it only isn't going to change much. Feeling something only isn't going to change much. But I also know if you don't feel abundant, your brain isn't wired to look for opportunities to become abundant. If you feel scared, anxious, worrying about the fact that there's not enough money in the bank, you're not feeling your most inspired, your most creative. And I get it. And I do get it. I'm not just saying I get it, I really get it. For those of you that are quite new to my work and this live series, you might not know, it might be really easy to think, well, it's easy for you to sit there saying, with all your money in the bank and your nice handbags and stuff. I'm telling you now, it hasn't always been like this. And tonight's about that. What spurred this on is that on, what day was it? One of the days over the weekend, James and I decided to go up to our new house, the one that we're currently renovating and turning into a retreat venue, as well as a bit of a base in Spain, because we love Spain. And although we can't commit to living here full time because we like to travel too much, when we're here, we've now got somewhere to call home. And I'm just looking at your comments as well, getting distracted. We were up there on the weekend looking at what the renovators had been doing, at the contractors. And you can check out actually the page, That Retreat Place, because I had an idea of like, I want people to say, you know, that retreat place. So that's what we called it, That Retreat Place. So we were up there and I had this moment where, like, just surreal moment. It's beautiful, blue sky, and the views from the house. We'd just been in and had a look at the work that done, just gone to see my walk-in wardrobe, and I was bouncing off the ceiling about that because it's been on my vision board forever. And then left the house, walked up the hill with the dogs, because we decided to go up there and walk. I'm still on my health kick, 2 weeks in, walking 2 or 3 times a day. And we were going to walk there because, you know, it'd be nice to find like a new walking trail for us, like that will become our new walk. So off we went, and the beautiful blue sky and all the cherry blossom trees are in bloom. So it's like all these pinks and whites, and just, it literally took my breath. And I looked back at the house and just had this moment where I thought, holy shit, like it really wasn't that long ago at all that I was worrying about paying the mortgage and potentially losing my house with a massive mortgage around my neck. Biggest loan that anybody normally ever has is their mortgage, right? And I couldn't pay mine not so long ago. And look at what we've achieved. And I actually stopped and I was like, James, just take this in for a moment. This is ours. It's not the bank's, it's ours. And every bit of renovation that's going into it is being paid outright. None of it's going on credit. And we did that. Me and you, we did that. And do you remember that day when we stopped talking about this particular day, which is what inspired this video? So there was a day when I remember feeling so fucking scared, so stuck in financial fear. And there was a lot of days, but there's one that always sticks in my mind, because it's about 7 or 8 years ago. My online business was in its infant stages. It wasn't even, it was a baby. It was like a newborn. And my traditional business that I was running at the time with James was in crisis. We'd literally just found out that our friend and a leader within our business that we trained had been having conversations behind our back to steal our contracts, and he'd been successful at that, and overnight everything was taken from under us and our income disappeared overnight. And this baby business that I'd been building on the side was still a baby. Like, it wasn't ready for that responsibility of taking care of me and James. And I was studying really hard, 2 things. the mindset behind what it takes to be a successful person, which a part of that included the law of attraction. And another part was the strategy and understanding how to use social media and other online strategies. And it was all brand new. It was all overwhelming. I was bad at everything that I was doing, but I was trying, and I was working till I was bleary-eyed, literally. I was knackered. I felt so guilty if I wasn't working, because I've not got any money to pay my bills. I need to fucking work. Like, nothing mattered other than work. I was obsessed, totally obsessed. And we've got nothing left in the bank. Literally, it was empty. And the bills were due to go out in a couple of days. And my mother-in-law, bless her heart, had come over to stay with us for a couple of days. And we've got this lovely house that we worked our asses off to get a deposit together for. And it was brand new and new build, and we'd not long moved in. I think we'd been in there about a year, and I was so excited about this house when we got it. We loved it, and we worked so hard to furnish it the way we wanted it furnished, and we loved our home. And it was around this time that I'd started to resent it, because it just felt like such a noose around my neck, having to pay these mortgage payments every month, and I didn't feel like I could enjoy it. My mother-in-law would come over to stay with us for the weekends, and I just didn't even feel like I had time for her. I just felt so consumed by my work. I didn't feel like I could even enjoy her being there. I just felt like I'd got to be working, and there was no room in my head for anything other than I've got to make money. And I was just frantic and so scared. And I was in my office, James and my mother-in-law was downstairs, Tori, her name is, and I could hear them chatting. And I just sat upstairs, and I'd just received an email from this social media company who I'd signed a contract with a couple of months before. They promised me that they would get me leads. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing on social media back then. I didn't know. I was still learning, and I was looking for a quick fix. And in that desperation, I made a bad decision. And I remember having this call with a guy, and he said he was going to increase my likes by a certain amount every week. He was going to run the ads for me. Obviously, I was going to have to pay on top for the ad spend. He was going to get X amount of leads every week, and I needed to pay $500 a month. And I was desperate, and I thought, this is the answer. And I knew I needed to invest in my business and in myself, and I invested into that, a done for you service. This is why I'm so against people doing this, because how did I know whether he was doing a good job? I had nothing to measure it by. I couldn't do it myself. When we leverage something or delegate something that we don't know how to do ourselves, that's not delegation, it's abdication of responsibility. It's trying to throw money at something and hoping that it's going to go away. In reality, what really happened was the likes I'd been getting, but they were all fake profiles. They were all from different countries like China and India, where my ideal client isn't hanging out. And a lot of them profiles didn't even exist. So yeah, there was likes, but they weren't quality likes. And obviously, knowing what I know now, that has the adverse effect on any business. You can't target using Facebook ads if you've got a load of shit on your business page. So many reasons that that's just not going to work. He was boosting posts. I mean, I do run trainings now on why never to boost a post, but he was using my money to boost posts. And I was tied into this contract for 6 months at £500 a month. And stupidly, I just signed it. And none of the stuff that he promised me on the phone, like all this hype that he'd given me on the sale, because he was a salesman, none of that was really in the contract. He just gave me exactly what he said he was going to, what the contract said it was going to give me, and it was shit. And I hadn't got 500 quid. And I sat in the office sobbing, because I just felt like such a failure, thinking, I can't pay the mortgage, I can't pay this man. He was threatening to take me to court if I didn't pay him. And my mother-in-law came in the office and saw me crying, and it was such a big thing for me to be vulnerable in front of her like this, because I didn't want her to feel like her bloody, the apple of her eye, the most important person in her world, had married a failure. That's how it felt. I was terrified that I was going to be judged, and she's not a judgy person. It was all about me. It was how I felt. And bless her, she said, what's happened? And it all came out. the mess I was in, and she put her arm around me and she was like, it's all right, it's all right. And bless her heart, she lent us the money to last us, I think if memory serves me, it was about 3 months. Just, it would pay like the bare minimum for 3 months, and with nothing left over, like, you know, we had to go shopping in the supermarket and really look at what we were buying, and you know, if something was 3 pence cheaper, then that's what we bought. It was hard times. And as much as I felt this relief when I suddenly realised I've got 3 months now instead of 3 days, it was quickly followed by panic, sheer panic. Because what if I get 3 months down the line and I'm in no better place, and now I owe my mother-in-law money and I can't let her down? And so I'm telling you this because I get it. Like, I really fucking get it. This isn't just some training from some, you know, successful person that has an abundance of money telling you they get it to lead you into, I get it. Like, and I can still feel it here when I talk about it, because it was horrible. And any of you, I mean, if you can relate on any level, give me some hearts, because it's crippling when you wake up in the morning with that anxiety in your chest. And it was the first thing on my mind every morning. And then I battled with myself because I knew that I wasn't being as productive as I could have been. I wasn't seeing things as clearly as I could have because I was in panic. So I've spent some time today joining so many of you can relate. If you're still there, I promise you it won't always be this way. I promise you. I'm living proof of that. So I'm going to read all of your comments. I'm going to read all of your comments after, because I don't want to get distracted, but I'm going to come back to them all. So I spent some time connecting the dots backwards and saying, right, what did I do? What steps did I take to feel abundant and get through that time productively? Like, how did I, looking back, move forward? So this isn't like a formula or a structured bullet pointed training. This is just me sharing what I did with you and some of the key things that I can remember doing that made the biggest difference. So if you're in that place, you can take something from this. So the first thing was, I made my financial footprint as small as physically possible. And I mean, it was really small. I took drastic action that was in alignment with where I was wanting to go. And what I mean by that is, I decided to sell everything that I owned in this house, all the things that around me that I loved, that I'd worked so hard to buy. I sold it all. There's a newspaper article knocking about with this story on, because we decided to sell everything. I mean, everything I owned other than a suitcase. That's all I had left, with some memories in it, things that can't be replaced, and a few clothes that I love to wear, and that's all I was left with. I did exactly the same. Everything went. Handbags, none of it was important. None of it was important, because what was important was that I made this happen. And I could buy all the freaking handbags in the world that I wanted at the end of this. But right now I had to prioritize, you know, if it wasn't an investment into where I wanted to go, then I wasn't spending money on it anymore. Because I looked around me, and I remember looking around me at the people that I lived by, like on the street that I lived in, and every single one of them was working to just pay the bills, everyone without exception. And it was keeping them trapped, doing things like on autopilot that they probably didn't even want to be doing, because they've got to keep paying the bills. And I thought, that's the first thing I've got to change. I've got to get off this treadmill fast. So I got a suitcase. I rented out my home that I loved, and that paid the mortgage and gave me some left over. Not much, but it was better than just paying the mortgage. So now I haven't got the mortgage payment and I'm in profit a little bit. And with that bit that was left over, I bought a caravan on finance. It cost me just about £100 a month. So it wasn't a lot, way less than a mortgage. And it also covered some pitch fees to park the caravan up. I thought, I'm going to live in a caravan. That's what I'm going to do. Because, you know, at some point, and I was certain of this, at some point, I'll buy houses cash. That will be my normal. That's where I'm going. So this doesn't matter. This is just irrelevant right now. I just need to get myself in a place where I'm as small as possible. My financial footprint is as small as possible, so that the money I do get coming in gets reinvested back in. And I made sure I knew where every penny was going. I got really in control. It was something called YNAB. I don't know if it's still a thing. WYNAB, YNAB. It's like a budgeting app, and it encourages you to put in all of your outgoings, so everything, petrol, food, everything has a budget. My pitch fees, the insurance on the caravan, the gas so I can cook food in the caravan, all of that went on the spreadsheet. And I could see, right, this is how much it cost me to live every month. No frills. Like going to the cinema, getting a bag of chips, that was a luxury. It was no frills. And then what was coming in at that point, which wasn't a lot, but by the time I'd made myself small, it was enough. And it meant that I could then work on investing. So every bit I was up leveling, I could reinvest back in. When I say reinvest back in, for me, it was all about more knowledge. Online businesses don't need a huge level of investment unless you're in a product business, and that's a little bit different. But I wasn't in a product business, it was a service business. So I was all about service, which, you know, your overhead should be minimal. So it was about learning how to make it happen. So I was just constantly reinvesting. So the two things I want you to take from that is, I'm not saying go live in a caravan. I chose to do that. But seriously, just ask yourself, how bold is your action right now? Because I speak to a lot of people that say they want it. And I don't speak to as many, like as a really small percentage, that really want it bad, want it enough that they're actually going to make it happen. A lot of people reach out to me and they'll say, Michelle, I want to talk to you about how I can be mentored by you or come into one of your group programs. Can we have a call? And I'll ask them a few questions. And one of those questions is always, are you serious about investing in yourself? Because unless you're going to be willing to step up and work with me right away at the end of the call, then we're going to be wasting our time. And I'm really straight about that. Like, consultancy isn't free. I'm not jumping on the call for my health, you know. I'm jumping on it to help you, of course. But you're going to have to commit at the end or else nothing's going to change and we're both wasting our time. And I'm always dead transparent around that. And most of the time people will go, yeah, I get that, of course. Yeah, I know I need to invest in myself. Yeah, let's get on the call. When it comes to actually parting with money, fear kicks in. And you know what I hear a lot of? Yeah, Michelle, I want it. I know where I'm going. I've got these goals. It's important to me. I want to earn this amount a month. I want to earn 10 grand a month in the next 12 months. It's a really popular goal. I want this. Oh, I can't afford to do that though. I can't afford to invest in mentorship. I know for a fact that they're spending that money elsewhere. I know they are, because it's not a huge amount of money. And I sometimes hear people say things like, yeah, I know, but like, I'm just in the middle of moving house, so it's a bad time for them. Why are you moving house then? Why are you prioritising moving house over investing into your business when your business is on its arse and you're not earning enough money from it, but you thought, I'll move house before I'll invest in my knowledge to earn more? Like, you've got your priorities backwards. And I feel really comfortable calling people out on that shit, because if I'd have acted like that back then and prioritised paying my mortgage over investing into knowledge, I wouldn't be mortgage free today in just a few short years. Like, I just wouldn't. That's the truth. I'd have always been prioritising something else. Or, you know, the other thing I hear a lot of is, oh, it's just a really bad time for me because, you know, we've got a few plans coming up this year, like I'm renovating the bathroom and I'm doing this. And I'm like, oh, that's all right then. Don't worry. So you renovate your bathroom. Seriously, like, it's going to take way more than that. And you've got to have that reality check sometimes of, where am I at? what's coming in, what's going out, what needs to just get cut. And I'm not saying you got to live in a caravan, but you are spending money on stuff that you could be sacrificing. I'm sure of it. Everybody does. And it's not a long-term sacrifice. The problem is you've got to switch from being instant gratification sort of wired to, I'm going to put myself through this so that long-term I can experience real abundance. Do you know something? Getting in control of the finances, making yourself small, seeing it on paper, that in itself is a game changer. Most people don't know. Be really honest with me now. Let's do a bit of a test here. In the chat box, answer yes or no if you know the answer to these questions. Do you know to the penny, honestly, to the penny or the cent, depending on where you're from, do you know what goes out of your bank every month? Like exactly what your expenses are? Boom, like that off the top of your head. I still know mine now to the penny because it's become ingrained. I spend time every single month working on my financial goals, which means looking at my money and knowing what's coming in, what's going out. I still make myself as small as I can be. Why disrespect money because you've got more of it? Like I'm always going, oh, we could get that cheaper now. Like let's look around. Do you know to the penny? A lot of no's. Thanks for being really honest. Most people don't. Most people don't. Really funny. A few weeks ago, I was chatting to a lady and she said to me, I really want to come into your program, Michelle. I know I need it. I've been following you for a really long time. I know you're the person to help me. We got to the end. She's like, I can't afford it. I said, okay, by how much? She said, what do you mean? I said, by how much can't you afford it by? I'm just curious. What's the deficit? And there was this big silence. I said, I'm not trying to pry. I'm just trying to work out whether you know. Because a lot of people go, I can't afford it. But they don't actually know what they're saying. Like what they're actually, like what does that actually mean? Like, is it, if I pay this, I'm going to be £300 a month short every month? Because if I know you're going to be £300 a month short, then all you got to do is work a plan to make an extra 300 quid. Fucking anyone can do that with access to the internet and a bit of guidance. Anyone and the right frame of mind. She was like, oh, I don't know. I said, do you know what your outgoings are and your incomings every month and what's left? She was like, I don't know. I said, do you know what you could cut back on to make more? I don't know. And the light bulb went on and she was like, okay, fair enough. Like I can totally see where you're getting, where you're coming from. Give me 48 hours. I need to do some work on this. And I gave her a bit of advice on the call on what to do. You know, create a really simple spreadsheet, all your outgoings on there, everything that comes in, what's left, what can I cut out that I really don't need so I can make short-term sacrifice to do this if you really want. If you don't really want it, don't do the work. Like if you're just saying it because you want to get off the phone, you don't need it. She's like, no, I need it. I want it. I'm going to do the work. And 48 hours later, she did. She come back. She was like, there was like not a deficit at all. All I had to do is make a few lifestyle changes and I'm there. Like I am there. I'm so glad you made me do this because I would have just gone, oh, I can't afford it. Because you don't know. Like if you don't know, you're not in control and things aren't as bad as you think they are. Some people don't do this work because they're too frightened to do it because they're like, oh, I don't look at it. I'd rather just keep doing what I've always done and just hope it gets better. It won't. It never will. I promise. It will get better if you focus on it. If what you focus on, what you give attention to grows. So if you've got a spreadsheet that says this is what comes in, this is what goes out, and then you can see it going up because it's going to go up because you're focusing on it every month. And every month you go and input your figures and you get addicted to it as well. Like we'd allocate a certain amount for the food shop and I'd be like, winning. I haven't spent 20 quid on the food shop this month. That's an extra 20 quid. So now I can see that moves into next month and I'm more in the green next month than I was. It changes everything. Do the work. If you're a bit tight financially, do the work. The other thing is fall in love with where you are now because you are all in the first world. Money might be a bit tight, but it could be a damn sight tighter. Do you know, I was in Cambodia in April last year. It was the most fabulous trip I've ever been on because it opened my eyes. I'm going to India in 6 weeks for the same reason, because it grounds me. It brings in a new level of gratitude. It gives me an opportunity to get around people that know what it's like to really struggle and be happy anyway. These were the most happy, grateful people that I have ever come across, the most friendly, smiley, just beautiful souls that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And they've been through the most horrific traumas, and they've got nothing. They've got nothing, not a pot to piss in. I'm not even like just saying that, like literally they don't. But they can find a way to be grateful. They can find a way to be happy. Being around people like that gives me a bit of perspective sometimes when I'm sat there worrying that I might not hit my goal this month, or I might just do 1.2 million instead of 1.5 million. I'm not even joking. That was what was on my mind last year. I felt like such a dickhead when I got off at one stop and walked into a town where the children haven't got shoes on, and they can't even afford medical treatment. And I'd been on the boat stressing because I was a bit behind on my forecast that year, and I might not do my 1.5 million. It was insane thinking, but we get stuck in our thinking, we get stuck in our circumstances. And I'm not saying you've got to go and fly to Cambodia to come out of it. That's what I do now. But back then, it was about gratitude. And you hear this all the time, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Everyone's talking about it, but are you doing it? Are you actually doing it? Like, it's built into my routine now as a way of life, because when you're grateful and happy where you are, you feel the feelings of abundance, and you can still be focused on where you're going at the same time. Like, that's the healthy place to be. Super grateful for where I am, dead excited about where I'm going. If you're, oh, everything's shit and I need to get there, it gets further away every time. The more you need something, the further away it gets. So every morning, without fail, James and I start with gratitude. So the moment I open my eyes, it's become like hardwired in. I roll over. This is exactly what I do. My eyes open. It's time to get up. I roll over, I put my arm over him, and I go, morning, babe. What are you grateful for this morning? And he goes, and starts talking. It's just become ingrained. And then I share what I'm grateful for, and that's the way we start our day. And it's not just words. We're filling ourselves up with gratitude. When I first started this, I was in a caravan. And actually, I started it a bit before the caravan. I started it when we were still in the house. But I can remember doing this in the caravan. I can remember saying I was grateful for the fact that we had eggs in the fridge for breakfast. And so many people didn't have breakfast. So many people couldn't afford breakfast. So many people were starving. We got eggs and bread. I remember being really grateful for blue sky one morning, because it meant that we got to go for a beautiful walk around the English countryside, which was our garden. I remember looking out and seeing some teepees with like some hippie type characters. They were smoking marijuana, I think, because we kept getting whiffs, and they got all these herbs outside the tent, and it looked like they'd been there for a long time, like maybe they were living there right on the edge of a cliff in Cornwall. This picture cost us a couple of quid a night. It was really basic. There was no facilities or anything, so we were at one with nature. And I remember looking out the window at these hippies, and they were cooking their breakfast on this little stove, and being unbelievably grateful for just nature and my environment, and feeling so abundant. I've got no money. I was, I couldn't have even gone and got a Chinese takeaway that night if I'd have wanted one. But if I'd have focused on that, the fact that I couldn't go and get a Chinese takeaway, versus focusing on all the incredible things that were going on around me, the mindset is different. Abundance isn't a destination. Wealth isn't a place that you arrive at. It's not a certain amount of money in the bank. I can't stress this enough. And I know, because I've been broke, and I've got to a place where I can, and it still sounds weird saying I'm a millionaire, because I still don't quite, I don't know, there's a part of me maybe that doesn't feel worthy of that status. That I don't know, but it still feels weird saying it. But I've been on my arse and had nothing. And I've been in a place where I can say I'm a millionaire. And I can tell you that happiness doesn't depend on being at either of those places. It doesn't. I had some of my happiest days in that little caravan. I loved it, because I decided it was going to be that way. And I decided to wake up and say, I get to go to work on my dreams today. Not, I've got to do all that work today. Just changing I've got to I get to changes everything. So start focusing on the things that you've got. If you find yourself focusing on all the things that are missing for you, it's the attitude that needs to turn around, not the environment. And set yourself goals that are based on achievement, not based on like monetary or in clients, because you get frantic when you need money and you set goals on, I want to earn a certain amount this week. There's all this attached to it. If you just set goals about like the activity you've got to do, like when I've achieved a certain level of activity, when I've done this, when I've done this, when I've done this, when I've done this, I get that treat, I get that reward. And a reward for me sometimes used to be, you know, a bag of chips on the beach or a cheap bottle of wine from the supermarket to share with James that night. Or, and I'd really look forward to those things. I'll tell you something, I appreciated those bag of chips and those cheap bottles of wine way more than I do now. I did. That's the truth. They tasted so good because I felt like I deserved them. There can be a lot of guilt attached to spending any money when you're a bit financially tight. So if you do go and treat yourself to a bag of chips, you might feel guilty. But if you know it's based on a reward that was set and achieved, then it alleviates that guilt as well. So it automatically switches you to more feelings of abundance. Get around people who've been on their arse and changed it. Get around people that have, you know, risen from the ashes. And if you can't physically be around them, like in the same room or in the same space as them right now, then just read books about them. Just surround yourself with them. I used to sit up till late reading. And what you'll find is every successful person, really. And I can remember reading, I'm reading another book now of his, but Richard Branson, who I love reading about, he really inspires me. I love his attitude and his mindset. And I was reading a book of his and he was talking about the fact that at one point he'd got to raise like 3 million in 48 hours or else he was going to go bankrupt. I remember thinking, fucking hell, I only need 3 grand. I thought my problems were big, and it just made me laugh. And he's now, you know, where he is, and it just made me realise that these aren't big problems. Like I can do 3 grand a month. And then, because that's what I needed at the time. That's all I needed at the time, just to be all right. So get yourself around those stories, podcasts, books, build it into your daily disciplines so that you're constantly surrounding yourself with inspiration from people that have done it. The people that haven't and the people that are going, what are you doing? Can you imagine what my family and friends thought of me when I sold everything I owned and went and lived in a caravan? Some people say to me sometimes, oh, my friends and family like roll their eyes at me. I'm like, you have no idea. Like, I think they thought I was mentally ill for a while. And I get like that most people aren't going to get it, because most people are in the 98% and they live just above the breadline, and, you know, but you don't want that. That's why you're here listening to this tonight. So most people are going to do their best to misunderstand you because you're on a different page, and it threatens their very existence, because they're like, you're putting a magnifying glass on my mediocrity here and I'd like you to move it. So let me tell you why you're wrong. You're going to be surrounded by those people. And when you're in financial crisis or things are a bit tight, they have a bigger impact. If they tell you mad and it's never going to work, like, that's the worst thing someone can say to you when you're feeling like that. So you've got to limit the time you spend with people that are going to say that stuff to you, and surround yourself with people that get it and that are going to say the opposite. And don't be so serious. They are first world problems after all. And don't forget that. Stay grounded in that, because as hard as it is, it's true. And you woke up with air in your lungs this morning, and you woke up with clean water coming out of a tap probably, and electricity when you switched on the light, and that makes you really fucking blessed. And that's all from me. I'm going for my dinner. It's been a long day. Love you loads.